Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Rising Insane, Wildfires, out August 23rd on Long Branch Records. The album has 11 tracks, 34 minutes in length, and this is the band's fourth full-length studio album. They are a German metalcore band. Now, as far as the design is concerned, this is a record that offers two very distinct perspectives, two very distinct soundscapes almost to a certain degree. The first half of the album, or everything that comes before the interlude, is very compact. Nice fluidity from song to song, but there's a lot of the same characteristics coming all the way to the surface, track in and track out. That is not necessarily the same experience in the second half beyond that interlude. The second half of the album feels a lot more fluid, a lot more dynamic. It introduces some elements that we hadn't really seen before in this record. So two different sides of an album, but two different sides that are not completely disconnected from one another, but they do offer a reset between them, which is the interlude track that the album has. Interesting design for an album like this. As far as the sound is concerned, this is your traditional metalcore sounding record. Great production, really clear. The use of some electronic elements like synths to create some ambiance in the backdrop of the tracks. Very guitar driven, very drum driven, with a great vocal performance. Overall, that's how this album is presented. And considering how some bands these days within this genre are moving towards a more electronic sound, a more use of synthesizers, allowing those elements to kind of drive the experience of the tracks and not relying as much on the guitars or on the drums to be the main core elements of the overall sound, this record is a breath of fresh air, because it still has at its core of its sound, of its experience, the guitar sound, the drums, and vocals. All of the other elements, all of the other stuff in terms of electronic sounds, synthesizer, samples, all of that stuff comes in order to make the record feel a little bit bigger, in order to make the sound feel a little bit more complete. But it's not there to impact necessarily the experience of where the songs are going or what's taking the songs from point A to point B. That is completely left up to the guitar sound, drums, and vocals to do all the heavy lifting. And the guitars on this record have a great impact, a great movement, from the more melodic to the more melancholic to the heavy to the aggressive to the more stripped down. It's a very dynamic album with great quality guitar sound that obviously infuses great quality to the overall perspective of this record. The drums are a little bit warmer than I was expecting coming in. I thought that perhaps they were going to go with a more distant drum sound with some electronic elements behind it. That was not the case. The drums feel very analog almost to a certain extent, and that's what gives the record at times their more warmer sound, allowing to work really well with a more melancholic side of their sound, but also with a more aggressive side of their sound as well. Now, the vocal performance is on par with the overall experience sound-wise that the record puts together. I enjoyed the clean vocals tremendously, filled with angst, filled with melancholy, very emotionally driven from the first all the way to the last song. They almost pierced into your soul, if you will. And then you have the screaming vocals, that it's more of the exteriorization of all of those inner demons and those inner thoughts that are so well represented by the clean vocal performance throughout the entire album. And this album is just a continuation of what I've seen this band do. I've been following this band for a while. This is not my first time reviewing one of their records, and I gotta say I see a huge increase or a huge step forward as far as the growth of the band, as far as the growth of the sound, their ideas and how they put those ideas to fruition. And it's really nice to see, like I said earlier, a band within this genre not being pulled into that more electronic synthetic sound and still having a very organic, a very warm sound overall that really represents how good they are on guitars, on drums, and then obviously on vocals. As far as favorite songs goes, I want to start off with Bet on Me. Heavy, melodic, melancholic, great mixture of emotions as far as this track is concerned, and that mixture of emotions is represented not only in the sound but also in the way the vocals come across. It's also a track where the bass has its moment to shine. It has its 3.5 minutes of fame, if you will. The bass has a nice little impact. It helps open up the track a little bit more, and it's a song that really explodes in the chorus. It has a big sounding chorus, heavy with presence, and the vocals really help emphasize that same size. It's a track that escalates, or that grows exponentially, both musically and vocally, allowing it to have that climax in the chorus, that big impact in the chorus, making this an absolute banger of a song. Next we have Warning. This is a track that opens up more vocally. It has more room for the vocals to breathe, at least as it starts. I like the mixture of cleans and screams. Really helps push a certain level of intensity. It helps give you this almost Jekyll and Hyde style performance throughout the entire track. Blending the two styles together allows you to have even more of that throughout the song. It's a track that also grows exponentially. There's a sense of adding elements to the sound and adding intensity and even aggression to a certain extent to the sound until you reach that chorus. Now the chorus is explosive, but it's not as explosive as you would expect because of that gradual movement. You kind of feel like you're taking all the right steps into it. You don't go from 0 to 100. There is a sense of moving up the ladder slowly as the track progresses, and that takes a little bit of the impact of the chorus in terms of its sound, in terms of its heaviness, but it still allows you to feel like you've reached the peak of the mountain. The calmer moments within the song really help set up the overall aggression that exists around it. Last but not least, final track on the album, Wildfires. I think this is a great closing track because, in my humble opinion, is perhaps the biggest sounding song on this album. It has this metalcore arena rock feel to it. It's a song that's larger than life, that feels like playing, for example, this track in a small club just doesn't hold it. The song requires a much bigger stage, a much bigger performance, and closing off the record with a song that is this big in terms of the sound, in terms of the emotion, in terms of the vocal performance, how dynamic, how fluid it is. It's a great way to put an exclamation mark on the entire record. So great song, really unique. I don't think there's another song like this on the entire album that blends in all of these emotions and makes the song feel like it deserves a much larger platform. So having this as the closing track is a great way to finalize a very fun album to listen to. This is it, Rising Insane, Wildfires, out August 23rd on Long Branch Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.